All right, everybody, today we're going to talk about batteries. This is Robin, myself is Lee, and we're going to be giving you guys an introduction to battery maintenance, care, and sizing. So right off the bat, what we have here is a 24 group 12 volt battery, which is your most common batteries for RV hookups. If you're doing a lot of power camping, for example, at provincial campgrounds or campgrounds where you're plugged into shore power all the time, this would be more than enough for you. Robin, if they're not?
Well, if you're doing a lot of dry camping, you're going to want to increase the battery capacity that you've got. So you need to decide what you're going to be doing. So this, again, as Lee said, Group 24, it's kind of your basic RV battery. It's 10 inches long, 7 inches wide, and fits into the standard battery box. You can actually go with one of these if you don't have a lot of need for off grid, or you can have multiple batteries on here. This one is a 12 volt battery, and it is rated at 90 amp hours. So what's that mean?
So when they say 90 amp hours, that's when you have to start getting into your amp hour management in your trailer. Once again, if you are plugged into shore power and you're camping with this all day, that does not really include itself in this conversation. However, if you get into your dry camping situations where your unit is completely dependent on these batteries and that's what's running it, then you need to monitor how much energy you're using at a time. So this is more applicable to families, especially with smaller kids and whatnot, because you know everything's going to be turned on. If you have one battery like this and you try to go dry camping for the weekend, it will be completely dead come Sunday afternoon, completely. Especially if you have young kids in there, all the lights are on, the water pump's left on all the time. Just one thing after another like that will just completely drain these batteries down. So once again, if you are going to go do a dry camp for a weekend with a battery like this, and you do have a small family, what we highly recommend is that you have amp hour management. So you turn the pump on when you need it. You're going to have a shower, turn it on. You get out of the shower, turn it off. You're going to do some dishes, turn it on. You're out, turn it off. You need that light in the kitchen, turn it on. Don't turn them all on. And it will go a long way into making this battery last an extra day, maybe even two. And if you guys want to go for 3 or 4 days, that's going to make a very large difference. Now, as far as sizing them for your trailer, that's what Robin's going to talk about next.
Okay, and before I get to that, one thing that you didn't talk about was the furnace.
Right.
That's got to be your biggest draw.
Yeah.
So you're going to find that if it's a nice summer day, summer night, you don't need your furnace, you're going to find the battery's going to last a whole lot longer. You start getting into the cusp of the season, in early May, in September, October,
yeah,
and even during May, June, July, and August in the mountains. It gets a little cold up there, you're going to need the furnace. That one's going to take a little bit more battery power. So, sizing batteries.
Sizing, yeah.
Okay, so we've got essentially 3 common sizes that we use. We've got a Group 24, which is the size of the battery, the footprint. We talked about that as having 90 amp hours. There's another one out here that's about 2 inches longer, and it's a Group 27. And it's got somewhere around 105-ish.
Yeah.
So it's increased by 1 more set of cells in here. The ultimate one to go is with the one that everybody's heard about, is the 6 volt batteries.
Yeah.
The thing about the 6 volt batteries, you gotta have 2. And a 12 volt battery, you can have 1. So either the 24 or the 27, you can have 1 battery. If you do go to the group as a 6 volt batteries, you are going to have 2 to get your 12 volts that you need. 6 volt batteries, generally speaking, they're going to be somewhere around 220-ish amp hours. So if you take a look at this guy right here, it's got 90. Your 6 volt battery is going to have about 220 amp hours.
Yeah.
It's going to have about the same footprint, a little bit higher, but you require 2 of them. So you can see that if you put 2 of these together, you're going to get 180 amp hours. You put 2 6 volts together, you're going to get 220, 230, somewhere around there, depending on the battery itself. Go ahead, Lee.
Yeah, so when it comes to the sizing with the batteries, if you're doing a lot of dry camping and you are camping in areas where you do not have shore power, ideally you're going to want at least a dual battery setup. So as Robin was saying, these ones are 12 volt batteries. So you can run these by singles. You can also run 2 12 volt batteries at a time. You set them up in parallel instead of series, and you're still running off 12 volts, except now our let's say our 29s or our 31s where they're running about 105 or 110 for your amp hours. Now we can increase that. That one you can double, and now you're going to be sitting more around your 220, 230, very similar to what you're going to get out of 2.6 volts. Just depends on the size that is allowed for the batteries to fit in. Sometimes you cannot fit them in there, and it depends on what type of camping you're going to be doing. However, if you are doing long-term dry camping, you need way more than just this one battery. Highly recommended 2.6 volts. If not the 2.6 volts, 229s or 227s in parallel will do you just fine as well.